and welcome to another episode of the Never Lose a Deal podcast. So, today I kick off season 2 of the podcast. Last time I did a video, depending on where you're watching this, you may be watching this on YouTube or listening on one of the podcasting platforms. I think the last time I did a video was sometime late January. And so I took a break and I am back recharged and ready to share with you all some exciting information for this season. Now, last season I left off talking about why now is the time, at least for myself, when it comes to sharing information, to give some type of context to the content that I provide online. Because pretty much the content that I primarily talk about is business credit, business funding, and the ability to leverage it for real estate. And, those who may be familiar with the topic, um and when I say those who may be familiar, it's definitely a very common topic in today's world online. Business funding, business credit, many people kind of use it interchangeably, and I really do believe that, at least for myself, many content providers don't really give context to information. And when you don't give the proper context, at least for myself, it leaves the person who is listening um, not very clear on how the information can be used, can be leveraged. For example, there is information on the internet on how you can leverage business credit or business funding to invest in real estate. Those who do not know better, they think those two terms are interchangeably. And depending on who you are listening to and the audience that the person is talking to, they will have you think that business credit is business funding. And unfortunately, that is not the case. Business credit and business funding is not a new phenomena. It's been out. The practice of being able to use it has been around for years. It's just that within the past couple of years in the online space, individuals have been sharing information, and so a lot of the information is misinformation. And I never want to be that person who wants to mislead information to people, because what happens is that when a person doesn't have any context to the information they're hearing, what happens is it leaves them in a conundrum of they're not able to understand why the results that they want, they're unable to get them. And that is why I have had a lot of people who have came to me and said, yes, I know what it is, I know what business funding is, I know what business credit is. I probably should have turned my phone off, but going back to what I was saying, you have people who will say, I know what business credit is, I know what business funding is. And let me just say this, there is of information online tons of information online about that topic. And that's why I tell people all the time, we live in a day and time now where there is a lot of information. I mean, no one can say they lack information unless you just you live under a rock. You have books that are at your fingertips. You can literally, go to, of course, your local library. Let's not forget the library, but you can go into Barnes and Noble. You can read as many books as you want and don't have to buy anything. Online, there are plenty of ebooks, there are podcasts, there are live streams, there's webinars, there's case studies, there's so much information out there. But why is it that with all the information out there, many people are still not being able to give, or should I say, get the results that they want when it comes to being able to acquire what it is that they're looking for. I'm going to use myself for example and how I help people. Now, by primary, the individuals that that I work with are not just any type of real estate investor. Do I help real estate investors leverage six figures or more in funding to be able to expand their real estate portfolio? But understand that's not everyone. There are some people who are new to real estate. And what happens is that they will insert themselves into that picture. And that's why for myself, my goal is to deliver content that can help the end user get a context of how it could help them in their current situation. So, my promise as I continue providing content, I'm not new to the content space. I have a YouTube video, a YouTube channel, depending on where you're watching this. But if you're watching it on YouTube, I have over 800 plus videos where I have been talking about various topics in the financing space in terms of personal credit, in terms of business credit. So I can go layers and layers and layers deep on that subject matter. I don't have to just, go surface. But the one thing that I want to do is not to provide a lot of content, but to give a context of the content that I do provide to individuals. So they can literally be able to take that information and be able to do what it is that they are looking to do. So let me give you an example of that. In order for me to ideally help a client who's a real estate investor get access to six figures in funding, that is not just going to be credit cards. That is why I tell people all the time is that business funding consists of many things. Most of the time, like I said, there's no context to the content. When people hear, oh, a person is going to get six figures in funding, the first thing they think about is credit cards. And I get it. There are some business credit professionals that's their area of expertise. They can't go beyond just credit cards. They just can't. And so for myself, credit cards is a very, I want to say it's like the floor. Could they be used? Could they be leveraged? Yes. But depending on what it is that a person wants to do, and for myself, when I share with my clients the framework that I use to get them to be able to move up the financial food chain when it comes to funding, credit is the lowest level. That is a start. Whenever I do any type of trainings, I literally show the progression of the different levels of funding. And then I ask the real estate investor, hence client, what is their goal and what are they looking to do? And that's why I said business credit cards is just the floor. So when you think about six figures in funding, or the buzzword now on the internet is 250,000 and 250,000 and business funding, depending on who you're listening to, most people are going to default to just credit cards. But for myself, with my framework, a part of my framework is to be able to get you to go up many levels. And for a particular type of real estate investor, I primarily work with those who are seasoned investors, in terms of, when I say seasoned, not how long you have given yourself the title of real estate investor, but what have you been investing in, meaning that you have some type of success when it comes to real estate investing. Because if you have some type of success, now what are you looking to do? Are you looking to expand that success? Or are you looking to go into other areas that you may want to take on some area of expansion? And if that's the case, funding can be a piece of it. But see, we're in the space online where most people don't know. And this is where the context to the content that you're listening to matters, because you may be a newbie real estate investor, meaning you still have milk on your breath. You have never did no real estate deal. You may have went to some type of conference. You may have read some books. You may have, went to your local RIAs, and you have decided that, oh, I want to invest in real estate, but you have never invested in real estate. You have no track record. You have no data of any deals that you did. And your first I want to say your first roadblock is that you need money. And so, since you do believe that that is a roadblock of yours, you come across somebody who is online, and they're telling you, oh, they're going to help you get six figures in funding to invest in real estate. And that sounds good, because you, number one, I want to invest in real estate. I have not invested in real estate, and I need money. Oh, wow. Let me tap into what it is that that person provides that can help me get some type of financial launching pad for me to be able to invest in real estate. And by all means, if that is what a person wants, it's nothing wrong with that. But if they're listening to me and I'm talking about the different levels of the business funding capital stack, credit cards being the lowest form of funding, they're not even going to be able to see and understand the progression that I'm talking about. Because with my framework, I start off with credit cards. That's the base level of funding. That's not the ceiling. For most people on the internet, they're new to getting access to capital. They're new to the conversation of financing, so they get all big-eyed about credit cards. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your goal, you're looking to get an Amex Express, a American Express Platinum, a Chase Sapphire card, and now you're winning, and there's nothing wrong with that goal. But the clients that I'm working with, they're not trying to get a credit card. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Most of the clients that I work with, they can already get the best type of financing from the bank. Case in point, current client of mine that was referred to me is doing new construction. They literally have their local community bank that is going to fund their deal 100%. They have this relationship. Of course, it has taken time. Just for, to give context to what I'm saying, because most people will just think that just happened. No, this person has paid their dues. They have a financial track record. They built a relationship with this bank. And so now when this opportunity came to the person, they knew financially the institution that they can go to, which is a local financial institution, and this is what they were provided with. So one may say, well, Lorelia, if they are getting 100% financing from their bank, why would they be interested in talking to you? Yeah, I get that. I would ask that question too, because once again, depending on the level of the person who's calling themselves a real estate investor, When they are thinking business funding because they have no context to the content that they've heard online, they're thinking a credit card. Uh, uh, the person wants a credit card. No, no, this person doesn't want a credit card. If they're getting 100% financing to do new construction, they're not interested in getting no credit card. So, how would a person like myself be able to help them? Well, remember, I told you part of my framework is a business funding capital stack, and it's to help investors move up the food chain when it comes to financing. Well, the highest level, one of the highest levels that I'm able to help clients with is with raising private capital to raising private capital from individuals who are looking to, and I'm not talking hard money, because when people hear private capital, they automatically default to hard money. I'm not talking about hard money. I'm talking about individual investors who have some sort of liquidity, whether it's cash in the bank, whether it's from their current business, whether it's from some type of retirement account, whether it's a self-directed IRA. There can be many sources. Well, where I come in is I help that experienced real estate investor, because I want to give you some context to the content. I'm helping this experienced real estate investor, not the person who gave themselves the title. I'm a real estate investor because they've got an LLC, they've listened to a few live streams, they're following a guru. No, this person has a track record. They have did deals, they are doing deals, they know the ebbs and flows, they've been through a few economic cycles. As I told you in the beginning, for those who may be just chiming in, once again, person has a real estate investor has a relationship with a local bank, 100% financing on the current new construction they're working on. Why would they need me? Well, I come in is because I'm able to help them to tap into an unknown source that they didn't even know that was even available to them, because the terms of the new construction loan that they're getting requires them to put up the capital first. See, this is the part what people don't understand, because there's no context to a lot of the conversations when it comes to funding. So, most people on the internet are telling people things in an open loop, and they're not really giving them the full picture. And so what happens is a person they hear this little sound bite, and then they got to run with what they think the situation is. Here, I'm going to unpack the whole situation for you. So although I said the real estate investor has a local community bank who's funding their deals 100%, this is the caveat. They got to put up the money first, and then the bank will reimburse them in draws. So, although it's 100% financing, they still have to come up with the upfront capital. This particular investor doesn't want to use their own liquidity, their own capital. They don't want to have to exhaust their bank accounts. They don't want to have to go into their personal funds. And that's where the private capital piece comes in. And that's where I'm able to help them. So that's why I always tell people, do not just assume on the internet that when you hear certain buzzwords that it all means the same. That's why I tell people, I'm very honest with people and letting people know that if your goal is to leverage six figures in funding, well, my approach is not to just help an individual just get a credit card. If that's what it is you're looking for, then by all means, I'm not going to be the person for you, because I know if I'm working with an experienced real estate investor who has some financial track record in terms of their business and they have been doing deals, their major pain point It's not a credit card. Their major pain point is, how can I continue expanding my real estate operation and not fear losing and not fear having the money to finish it, because they know that there's a big financial upside, that if they can have access to capital when they need it, it's a win-win. It's a win for the person who is providing the private capital, because now they're literally earning money on their money. And then it's a win for the real estate investor, because one, he or she gets to expand their real estate portfolio. Number two, that's more revenue, hopefully more revenue and income into their business enterprise. And now, if they are married or have kids, they are now beginning to increase their territory when it comes to any financial goals that they have. That is the reason why a person would be interested in leveraging business funding, but want to work with someone like myself who can help them get to the highest level of the capital stack, which is raising private capital. So that's why I said credit cards is the floor. It's a great place to start. It may be the place for that newbie real estate investor who got an LLC. They went to a seminar, they've went to a conference, they're following their favorite real estate guru, and they think their biggest roadblock is money. So now they've heard, hey, how can I get some money? Person is telling them, I can help you get X amount of dollars, and it's really just credit cards. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've worked with many investors who've leveraged credit cards to be able to expand a lot of things that they've did in real estate. But once again, they knew that was the floor. Their goal is to get to the ceiling, and that is to be able to raise private capital. So conversations like that is what I'm going to be doing in this season as I begin to produce more content for the Never Lose a Deal podcast. My goal is to go really, really deep. No more gone are the conversations, the surface conversations of business credit, business funding. That's why, if those buzzwords kind of, make your antennas go off. Understand, I'm not talking to the person who is looking to rob the bank or run the play with their new LLC. There's plenty characters out there in the marketplace who can help you do that. So a lot of the conversations are going to either expand what it is that you didn't know, and now you have that aha moment and you can see the possibilities, because I'm a big advocate of, a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. We just don't. There are things, I'm always a student, and then and I can get into some circles and I'm almost embarrassed that I don't know that much. And so that's probably going to be the experience that you may have as you listen and tune into the information that I'm going to be sharing in season 2, because it's going to stretch you. But I do want to warn you, it's not for the person who needs proof. Because 90% of the people, when you have that person who feels like they need proof, they got to know if it's true. My challenge to you is, if you hear me talking about something that your favorite guru ain't talking about, who knows, won't be surprised if they'll start talking about it. Because we live in a time and space now where people could talk about a lot of information, but they have no success record. of either how they did it or they've helped other people do it. So let me just put that disclaimer in there too, because it's easy for people to listen to a few videos and regurgitate some information, but they have never put it in practice. They've never helped nobody. And so once again, no context to the content. So, but understand anything that I share. And I like to say, I call myself the receipt queen. Anything I talk about, I have receipts that either I've did it or my clients have did it. I don't just, push out a lot of information. Most people, information is at our fingertips. There is no limit to information. But what you have to ask yourself, how does it help you? How can you apply that information in order for you to get the result that you're looking to get? And please don't be that adult who feels like you need someone to prove it to you. Because I'm going to say this and I'm going to challenge you: prove it to yourself. There's no new information. Even the information that I'm going to share with you about raising private capital to be able, which is, like I said, for me, part of my framework is one area of the business funding capital stack, because business funding is not just credit cards. There are many different levels of business funding. For part of my framework, private capital is the highest level of the business funding capital stack. But I say this: there's no shortage of information. There's plenty of information out there. Most people gauge their information on if it's new. It's not that it's new, it's just new to you. It's probably new to you because no one in your circle is talking about it. No one in your family has been talking about it. No one in your circle is showing you proof that it exists. And so in your realm, you don't think that it is possible, especially when it comes to a person who may be delivering it to you who may look like myself. So with that being said, do your own research. Do your own research. There's nothing new. There's plenty of books on any topic. The only difference in the books that are in the marketplace is going to be from the standpoint of the person who's delivering it to you. So that's why with any topic, whether it's business funding, whether it's business credit, whether it's freaking gardening or it's knitting, everybody's going to have a different story, because at the end of the day, it's going to be based on your experience. And and that is my promise to you when it comes to one of the highest levels of the business funding capital stack that I help real estate investors do, experienced real estate investors who have um, some financial track record, not the real estate investor who has listened to a few webinars, they've been to a few conferences, they have an LLC, but they have no really proof of concept that what they want to do can actually work for them, because there's a lot of limiting beliefs that many of those individuals have to push through. And so I know for me, I'm not going to be the person for them. That's why I said it's many characters on the internet who can help those individuals. How to get a credit card, how to get a Platinum American Express, Chase Sapphire, how to rob the bank. The list goes on and on, but you're not going to find it here. So once again, this is Lorelia from the Never Lose a Deal podcast. Don't forget, go to the website, learn more about what it is that I do and how I help individuals. And also get on the when you go to the website, don't forget to subscribe. It's going to ask you for your name, your email, and your telephone number. A lot of times in my text communication and my email communication, I will be doing some private sessions, talking more in depth about these topics, because my goal for 2024 is to not give a lot of content. I've did that. I've been in that season, but to give context to the content. So my goal is to have it to be very limited, and but be able to expand on it much further. So if you're on the email and the text communication list, there'll be times when I will invite you on how we can go deeper on the topic. And if it's something of interest that you want to do, you can tap in and learn more. So, once again, this is Lorelia. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching it on YouTube, please rate, subscribe, leave me a comment. If you're listening to it on the podcasting platforms, please rate. Let me know what you think. And see you in the next podcast episode. Bye bye.